Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Relationship Wednesday. Again, about relationship management, and we're just talking about after we did pretty much learn how to move forward through, making good decisions or better decisions or properly discerning how to make good relationship choices after maybe going through some hard things relationship-wise. Because again, relationships are hard, but because they're most rewarding for our purpose and plan, so the enemy puts a lot of challenges in there for those things. So that's the main thing. So we want to make sure that we try to do what we can to maybe provide tools and helpful resources to help us navigate our relationships and stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to recap a little bit last week when we talked about the duality of relationships, why relationships can be so complicated sometimes because of where we don't make up our mind. You got a lot of people who live in two different worlds. In other words, are we friends? Or are we just, colleagues? Are we just, are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Are we married? Are we married? Are we boyfriend, girlfriend? Like a lot of times we live in these dualities, and then where it creates these unhealthy expectations of things. And so because those expectations be so unhealthy, that's why we get into a space by where now relationships are more complicated than what they should be, and we have a harder time working because one of the foundations of relationships is communication. But the thing is, you got to know who you're talking to in order to communicate right. So for example, if something breaks down in your house, like we've had something with our plumbing before, I can't call up an electrician and be like, well, I need this plumbing fixed and this and that. Whatever. The information isn't bad, but who I'm talking to creates a problem in the communication. But if I know I'm talking to a plumber and they coming in to fix the shower or the pipes and stuff, it would make more sense talking to them. But if I'm coming talking to an electrician about pipes and stuff, they're like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Right. And a lot of times that's what we do. If we're talking to people we talk to them like we expect them to be best friends, and they thinking that we just friends. It's like, what do you mean? Why, so it can create, or I talk to somebody where we boyfriend and girlfriend, I'm talking to you like you my husband or wife. It's like it creates a lot of problems in how we are moving through. So one thing that God put on my heart to really, deal with, I want to unpack a little bit more with Michelle, is that we want to just talk about understanding when we go into a relationship with people, understand the difference between covenant and contract-based relationships, because it helps us in our expectations and the way we deal with people. Because when you're in covenant with somebody, that creates a different expectation than somebody you're in a contract with. And a lot of times the lines can be so blurred that we might not even see the difference, and therefore we put expectations on relationships that are contract based as if they're covenant based, and then what happens is we're hurt and we're mad when they leave or they move out because of the way it's based. So anyway, anything you want to add to that before I jump into this?
No, I want you to explain first so everybody knows the difference between a covenant relationship versus a contract.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. That was what I was going to jump into. So a covenant-based relationship is based off of, and I'm gonna say it's a God thing. In other words, I'm connected to you because of who you are, not what you can do. So in other words, it's something about you by where I take the good, the bad, and the ugly. So in other words, even if you make bad choices, good choices, crazy choices, whatever, I'm connected to you. It's a covenant. That's where you have like covenant brothers, where it's even if we have differences of ideas, we're still there for one another because it's not based on that. Contract-based relationships are more based on conditions. It's more like even though it may sound bad, but it's almost like a job in a sense. So jobs are contract-based, meaning that I work for you as long as you feel the terms and conditions. We can keep the job. If we're not, then we either want to talk about why you're not fulfilling your obligations and this and that, and if the criteria isn't met on either side. If you don't like the boss or the job, or this, you don't feel like you're getting paid based off of what you're doing, or the people who feel like you're not performing up to what they're paying you, or all those things. These are contract-based relationships. So in friendships, it can be like that. In other words, if you're not checking on me like you should, if you're not doing all these extra things, if you're not calling me up if you're not doing. It's like it's contract based, meaning that we're friends, but you got to meet your obligations. And if you don't meet your obligations, then I'm always mad at you. I got an issue with you. You're not fulfilling it. Then it just creates a strain because I put expectations as if, you're supposed to meet your term of the agreement. And if you don't meet it, then I'm always mad. I'm always in my feelings about it, this and that. Those are contract-based relationships. You put expectations and you expect them to step up to the plate when they do it. And if you don't, then I'm upset with you. But with covenant-based relationships, it's not even about that. It's not about how often you call it, that call, this and that. It's not really a performance-based relationship. It's more so, I'm here for you because of that. So, and like myself, being in ministry, I had to learn how to navigate that. Meaning that, learning that people who are there for your gift and what you can do for them are contract-based. But then there are going to be some people who God's going to put them there because they just like me. Like, in other words, they're for me, the person. Not so much more how good I preach or not preach or this and that. And so you have to be able to discern the two because sometimes it can be blurry. Now, here's the thing, it gets crazy. Like, I'm going to say a project. So relationships sometimes work like building projects. And to clarify what I mean, not people or projects, but the seasons. So meaning that, let's say you building a building. There have been times where we've had to do renovations and we've created friendships with contractors because we see them every day and just doing stuff. And so we maybe go out and so, but at the same time, once the project is over, they leave. But I can be mad, like, how dare they leave me after, we spent this much time and this and that? No, they were there for a season, for a purpose. Once the purpose was fulfilled, then it was time to move on. And so a lot of times that's what happens with certain people is that in ministry, you can build a connection and it look like a covenant-based relationship in the season, but actually the whole time it was contractual based. It was all based off of, terms and conditions. Sometimes you don't always know until after the fact when people are getting their feelings about stuff. Then you realize, okay, so this was a contract-based relationship. This was never a covenant-based relationship. And the reason why you got to know that so you can navigate, because the whole goal is to make sure that we don't allow ourselves to get bitter from relationships that may not go quite the way we would like them to go. Because I recognize that certain relationships are going to be long-term, some are going to be seasonal, and you have to know that. Usually contract-based relationships can look like covenant-based relationships, so they can go for a while and it can just really create problems, especially when you don't discern between the two. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's why I would say when people plan on getting married, it's always good to go through some type of counseling because those things can be explained because people, they're so in love and they think that it's, everything's going to be just perfect, whatever. But if you explain to them, because they say these vows through, rich or poor, sickness and health, and they don't really understand what that really means.
Because marriage is a covenant-based relationship.
Yes, marriage is a covenant. And if you don't understand what a covenant is and what it means, then you don't really understand the vows that you're taking. That, yes, so if this person gets sick or things go a little array or whatever, you're in covenant. So this isn't a contract that you could just break. Even though people now, that's what they do, but
but I think that covenant is more biblical, and meaning that the biblical times they understood that. I think us now we understand contracts better, and I think we see relationships even through that lens now because I think we live in the culture and the time we live in is more contractual based. So even the way we, a lot of times when people get married, how we do up our list. They got to be tall. They got to have nice teeth. She has to be fine. She has to look like this. So like we have our list, and then when we get married, she has to do X, 1, 2, 3. He has to do 1, 2, 3. And if you're not fulfilling your term of the agreement, then I want out of the marriage.
Right. Yeah. So obviously they didn't understand covenant, and just because you go to a church to get married in front of a minister or whatever. That doesn't mean, you have to understand your vows. What you're saying is important, and you need to listen to your vows. Listen to what you're saying and take it to heart. It's a heart thing. It's not a, that's the difference. The contract is not a heart thing. It's just it's a surface thing. But a covenant is from the heart, from within. That's how God sees everything, is from the heart.
Yeah, not based off of outer obligations.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we make the perfect match because we complement each other so well. And all that stuff is good. Not to say it doesn't matter. It's just that.
But that could change. That's the thing. With contracts, things change. Things can be, the addendum to it or whatever. But with a covenant,
find a way to get out of it.
Right, find a way to get out of it. Yes. Right. But covenant is, if this person starts to get sick or whatever, you have covenant with this person. You're going to be there for that person.
Yeah, and I guess even with the whole, and I understand the different reasons for it, but I'm not speaking against it. I'm just making my point about the mindset of relationships today, where we have prenuptial agreements.
Right. You already going into that
with
a contract. Well, if this happens, then, so you expecting to get divorced.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm saying it's going in on conditions, and if you don't meet these terms or whatever, then if I ever want to get out of it, here's going to be the penalty or whatever we got to pay in order to dissolve this, contract or this marriage.
Right.
So it's not really a covenant relationship. It's more of a contract relationship. But the problem is it's like you enter into a covenant agreement with contract terms. And I think now you got the expectations muddied up.
Right.
Because now it's like, okay, wait a minute. Is this a contract relationship or is this a covenant relationship? Because the nature of a marriage is a covenant relationship, but we're treating it like a contract.
Right.
And then now, so when you're trying to help people work through marriage, you can't really, because it's like I'm talking to people who look at it like a contract, not a covenant.
And since they make divorce so easily, you can have divorce.
Yeah, because
people go in there thinking, well, I can always get out of this, Like you say, like a job, you take a job, but well, if I don't like this job, I can go find another job somewhere else. And that's how I think people are taking marriages and, other things like that.
Yeah, so for me, it'd be like, so I guess just to make the point, so I'm going to unpack this so everybody can hear, so to explain it better. So think in terms of covenant and contract. So this is the way my mind processes it. So, and I know you would never do it, but I'm just using it as an illustration, and I've thought about it. I said that if you was to ever, mess around or step out of the marriage or what have you, I say, I wonder, I guess, how would I feel about that, this and that, and how would I process that? So to me, I look at it, and this is where my mind works. I don't look at it through the action. I look at it as, all right, was this a weakness or was this a heart thing?
Right. Right, yeah. Does she still want to be with me or not?
Right, because like we both have a past before we got married. So meaning that you being with other people doesn't really bother me because you had already been with other people and I had already been with other people before we got together. So which means that that's not my real issue. Because once we got which means that once we got together, it's about, are we together?
Right.
Or are we not together?
Right. Yeah. So what happened before the covenant is null and void.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's what happens after we make this covenant commitment is what matters.
Right. That's my point. Yeah. So it's not about the action but it's really more about the heart thing. I guess what I'm saying, because if it was just a contract, nope, you did that, you're gone, bye.
Right.
Because you didn't meet your obligation in contract. But in covenant, back to your point, it's a heart thing. So meaning that's why I want to know, like, because again, and one thing everybody has to realize, when it comes to family, when you get married, you got to deal with those devils that's been in your family. And sometimes it comes with many different types. It come in many different forms and many different ways. Some people can handle them. Some devils are just too strong where it's like, yeah, you have to deal with that on your own. Like, I can't. Because, like, for example, some people, like, there's been some guys who in the family who dealt with anger, and they would, physically harm their wives. See, now it's not safe, so you may have to work. You work on yourself apart from the marriage because it's not safe for you know what I mean.
Right.
Or you have people where like in the area of sexual things, the problem isn't okay. One time maybe, and if God graced me, okay, I can see that, but if you have a habit of doing it, and this is something that's been in your family, it's just too much exposure. I don't want to be exposed to other stuff that come with that. So we may have to just, dissolve this thing because, your issue has become bigger than the covenant.
Right. Your issues become dangerous.
Yeah, they become dangerous.
Just like someone being abusive. That's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, because usually in a covenant, a covenant basically means we cover and protect one another. And when we can't cover and protect one another, then it's hard maybe for that covenant to sustain itself in that way. But that's really where, on the deeper levels of where you begin to find issues and where heart has to figure out how to work through those, versus a contract, there's no real heart involved. I only love you as long as you meet the contract.
Yes.
As long as you paying me, oh yeah, I love you. But if you stop paying, no, bye, see you later. As long as you're doing everything I want you to do, that everything's great. But the minute you don't fulfill your obligations, then I'm out, because my heart goes with the terms of the contract. And I think that even in friendships, we have to know the difference where, and I think that a lot of friendships will start out as contractual based relationships, and they can grow into a covenant relationship, but not everybody. But because everybody ain't gonna start as a covenant in the beginning.
Right, because you got to get to know the person.
You got to get to know the person, and then there's a God factor, like something God does that mends the hearts of the people together. I mean, it's a God thing, like, because it's basically saying, I had one person come up and they I was helping, and they said, "You gonna be my best friend?" No, that's not happening. You can't make me be your best friend. Like, if it's not in me.
Right.
And so now, and that's what I mean where the lines, meaning that, no, this is a contractual based relationship here. Meaning that I'm here to find ways to help and minister to you and try to, encourage you. But because we're going out looking like what friends would do, you blurred the lines and assuming that I'm going to become your best friend because I'm taking you out like a friend would do to invest in you.
Right.
Even though all I'm doing is really from a mentee-mentor based relationship, or somebody who's older brother, younger brother trying to help. It's like from that level, it's like, but you're mixing the two where, no, we're not best friends. We're friends and we in relationship, but not on that level.
Right.
But you can't make it be something that it's not. So some relationships have started out on, we can help one another out. And then over time, God gets in there and it can make it a covenant-based relationship.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, because you can't force friendships.
Right.
They just have to be done by grace.
Or I guess on their side, you're their best friend, but it's not reciprocated.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? But again, but I'm saying now, when we look at that, what is it controlling? Expectations.
Right, yeah. Because they feel like y'all are best friends and they're expecting a certain thing when you're on that level of being a best friend. So you do have to let it be known. Yes, we're not best friends. We can hang out, but
yes. And so we'll pick this up next week. I guess we can talk about that when it comes to those. See, then we get into like the whole navigating of when you get into those type of relationships, we now start navigating the expectations.
Right.
Because then now it's controlling my feelings and it's dictating what I want and what I don't want. And because I just think that what happens is because then when we get into the relationship, we're not discerning. So then what happens is we get into relationships where we don't know who to trust anymore because we keep putting the wrong expectations on certain types of people.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So that's our time for the week. God bless everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. for this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed this episode of After I Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues this discussion of After I Did.